Hello, everyone. Christian Hernandez here with Sports Video Group. We're here checking in on the two teams that are in the Super Bowl. You saw an earlier video. We talked to Rob Alvarino with the Kansas City Chiefs, but we're pleased to be joined by our good friend from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's the Vice President of Content and Production. It's Eric Long. Eric, what's going on, man? How are you doing in Arizona?
Doing great, Christian. How are you?
Doing great, man. Hope to see you out there with the warmer weather because it's kind of cold in New York. It's kind of not. And I know you have a busy week ahead of you, so we appreciate you taking the time to sit down. We'll jump right into it. I obviously know what this means because I lived in Philly for 4 years, went to school. I know a lot of people that live in Philly. The motto that you're running with throughout the postseason is "It's a Philly thing." Can you talk to me why you chose that, what it means, and how it's been used on social to kind of rally the troops and the fans in Philly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that's awesome about Philly, and you alluded to it, anybody who's ever lived in the city or had a friend or family member that lived in the city, like if you're from Philly, you know what a Philly thing means, and it's just hard to describe, right? So the slogan itself actually came from something that Jalen Hurts said in a press conference earlier this year, and he was kind of talking about playing in the city and what's special and unique about it. And he said it's a Philly thing, right? Like, so it's just one of those things. I think it couldn't have said it any better, really. When the time came to roll out, our marketing campaign, just it felt so organic, because it is, straight from QB1, and it's
Right.
just one of those things I think that's really resonated with everybody, Eagles fans, people from the city, things like that. So the best part about a Philly thing, though, is you don't really actually have to be from Philly, right? Like it's a state of mind, it's an
Yeah.
attitude, it's the way that you approach life. It's you know uh, being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, right? Like that's just something that like our fan base, our city, it's just how everybody's kind of wired. So it fits, and it's one of those things that I think when we were kicking it around and it just clicked, we're like, can't say any better, and
Right.
it's a Philly thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even describe it any other than saying that. And we'll get into content in a second. But when you guys first released it, I remember seeing a post that you kind of asked everyone on social, like, what do you think when we say that? And the diverse amount of answers that people said that you guys included in the post, whether it's just the weather, whether it's just falling in love with all the teams that you have, whether it's grabbing a cheesesteak at 2 a.m. or whether it's just I don't know. It's a Philly thing, exactly. So I think it was kind of one of the cool things that you guys are doing on social. But there's a lot more that you guys are doing. Uh, Playing off the it's a Philly thing, but your overall content strategy. What's the goal of what you guys are trying to capture? Obviously, it's the big game on Sunday, but what is kind of the philosophies and creative ideas that you're throwing around when it's time to, slowly release things leading up to the big game?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that the Super Bowl is the biggest stage, right? Like it doesn't get any bigger than this. And fortunately, a lot of our team was in a position to be here 5 years ago and to experience it together. And that experience has been so incredibly valuable this time around. It's the week is really like drinking from a fire hose. There's just so much going on, and even beyond the week, the lead up to it, right? Going through the playoffs and
Right.
um, the build up. There's a million things happening, and it's logistics and it's planning and it's creating content while you're planning what the content you're going to create the following week is, and all the what if scenarios, like being ready to go. So it's just one of those things that I think the experience that we had was so valuable in helping us just kind of go in with the mindset of like, okay, last time it was almost like we just tried to do everything we could, like you didn't know what you didn't know, and it was such a huge opportunity, and we didn't want to drop the ball or fail to take advantage of it. So we sprayed everywhere. I mean, we just tried to do everything and anything we possibly could. This time I feel like we've been so much more strategic, and it doesn't mean that we're necessarily doing less, but it's just the way that we're using our resources and the things that we're focused on. I feel like it's been a lot more intentional, and as a result, a lot more productive.
Right.
It's still been a lot of work. There's no doubt that it's a lot. Um, but in terms of like the content rollout, I mean, there's definitely things like hype videos that the fans come to expect every week throughout the playoffs, and that's one of our favorite things to do. That's a big part of it. But
Sure.
we're so much more focused now too on the shorter form, socially focused content in terms of like behind the scenes and helmets off, and just capturing our players' personalities and what it's like to be here, and putting our fans kind of behind the scenes and seeing how even our staff approaches things. And that content's really resonated, especially on some of the platforms like YouTube Shorts and Instagram Stories and TikTok. I mean, that stuff, it's people love it, and I think it's just so easy to engage with and relate to. So that's been a big part of our focus. But then, you know, a lot of the really big tentpole serial content that we did throughout the year that performed so well for us even before we were in the playoff picture, that stuff's been a staple for us as well. So we've continued that, and it's, you know, some of our series like Unscripted, and which
Right.
is kind of a behind the scenes follow along the team. Playback, which is like a weekly, it's a retelling of the game, but it's not really focused necessarily on the plays themselves and kind of just the bigger picture, right? Like, but it's all game day.
Right.
Our Vikings, you know, Audible, that's been a series that's been really successful for us for a number of years. And, you know, of course, when you're winning, it's more fun, right? Like, that's not a secret. Like, when the team's performing well, players are more engaged, there's more personality, it's more fun, we're able to do a little bit more. So, you know, I think for us this time around, it was kind of like the culmination of like, yes, there's more eyeballs on your content when you're winning, especially when you're playing in this game. But we weren't going to just depend on that to be what kind of got us engagement. There's so much of an opportunity to capture new fans, to get people who are interested in some of the players on our team that are truly like, you know, superstar talent. And also just good content, good
Right.
storytelling, good access, you know, fun, personality driven, character driven storytelling. So we've really leaned into all that stuff. I'm really proud of the team because I feel like it's been a really effective way to use our resources, and that's just continuing through this week.
Right. You bring up a good point because the amount of stuff that you're churning out is insane throughout the entire week. But even something that you guys posted the other day of just the guys in the gym working out to like a music, you know, a soundtrack, and it was like so quick, 20 seconds. But when you look at all the comments of the people that I follow on Instagram, they're like, "I'm saving this post for whenever I need motivation to go to the gym." Right? It's just those little moments like that. But in regards to the stuff that you're doing specifically for this big game, it's one of the moments that you're privileged enough to, you know, not many teams get a chance to create content leading up to this huge championship game. It's the biggest production and televised event in sports, I would think. What are some of the creative things and that are just being released throughout the week for this game that, you know, take into account what you did in the regular season and the lead up to this game, you know, before in the playoffs? What is uniquely being released for the Super Bowl? If, you know, long story short, that's the real question.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, for us, it's really just been building on what's worked for us all year. So it's,
Okay.
you know, yeah, it's you know, during opening night on Monday night when we were here, you know, we had a post that we put up with Avante Maddox, one of our DBs, doing a mini mic, which is something we've done throughout the year, you know,
Yeah.
in the locker room. Well, it's him doing the mini mic, going around talking to his teammates, and some of the stuff is just fantastic. You know, capturing the sights and sounds, like you mentioned, the getting the first team lift when we arrived here at the beginning of the week, shooting stuff at practice throughout the week. You know, team photo. We had our team photo, and we did a ton of behind the scenes content that, you know, just it gets the personalities. I think just people seeing all that in action. So that's been really effective for us. You know, throughout the year on social, we've done a lot of fun stuff with like unmanned cameras. And I think at this point, one of the cool things about, you know, when you build a strategy like that and you're consistent with it throughout the year, the players understand, they get it, right? Like, we're at this
Right.
point where they know kind of what the cadence of these things are and what we're doing, and when they see us around. So you're past the point of them trying. It doesn't feel like, oh, you're just trying to force something new, or this is something I'm not familiar with. It's,
Right.
they know right away, like, oh, that's what this is how I'm going to engage with that, this is what's, and they love it, right? Like, so,
Sure.
and that's what makes it, when the guys are plugged in and they're into it too. I mean, honestly, that's the stuff you can't force. That's the stuff that's kind of out of our control. I mean, we do our best to build the relationships and, you know, to put that stuff in place.
Right.
When it's all firing on, you know, all cylinders, and we're consistent with how we've been doing it, now this thing we've built, you know, you just turn it loose this week. So in terms of like stuff for the week, following the same formula, right? Like behind the scenes, practice coverage, personality stuff, approaching our media availabilities with that same mindset. Still doing the things like streaming, you know, Coach Sirianni's press conferences and Jalen Hurts press conferences. That's the stuff we do every week too. That, you know, it's high performing. People want to see what's going on. We'll have our hype video dropping this week. That's
Yeah.
something you know, our, usually by the time we drop it, our fans know at this point when it's coming, you know, and you start to see it in the comments, people say like, all right, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You know, and you lean into those same things. And I mean, in the two playoff rounds coming into this game, you know, we were fortunate enough to work with some really awesome, you know, celebrity Eagles fans. So for our first round, we worked with Rob McElhenney, Don Staley, the coach of the University of South Carolina, and Morris Chestnut. And that was really powerful. We had music by the Roots, another Philly band, right? It's a Philly thing. Work that in there. And our second hype that was voiced by Brian Dawkins, one only. I mean, you can't get any more hype than that. I just people were asking for it all week long, and we delivered on that. So I don't think they'll be disappointed with this last one that we dropped this week going into the game. But and just thinking in terms of game day, there was a lot of things I feel like we did really well at Super Bowl 52 in terms of game day coverage. So we definitely, it was really cool when we knew we were going to the Super Bowl, we had that playbook and we dusted it off. We went back through and we're like, okay, and there's definitely some learnings and things that we're like, okay, we don't need to focus on these things as much. But in terms of game day coverage, I feel like that was really a strength last time. So there's a lot of things that we're planning to do the exact same way that we did, or very close to how we did it in 2018. And, excited about the opportunity. And at this point, I think we've built such a great with all the things that we're doing on all of our platforms, our audience, they're ready for this stuff. They get it. And now they're eager for it. So when we deliver, I think it's kind of this perfect marriage of like doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. So,
right. I'll say the cliche, but you're doing what got you there. Right. And you've trained your fans to understand like, okay, hype video comes out here. We should expect a killer, celebrity or athlete or whoever to voice this video. And you guys are doing awesome, cool, other stuff too. You mentioned it, but you did that drone stuff in front of the art museum steps with the Jalen Hurts, the gritty and the Go Birds and everything. So you guys are knocking out of the park, and you're getting fans that are Eagles fans, and even just casual NFL fans who are just interested to see what the teams are doing to cover their players or teams leading up to this big game. I'm sure you're just kind of reeling them in ever so slowly. We're SVG, so we're going to ask you this question: the nitty gritty tech stuff. So, what technology are your digital and social teams using to actual capture the content? Whether it's cameras, whether it's editing systems, and what are the workflows for the current week leading up, and also for Sunday? Who's in Arizona? Who's back at the training facility in Philadelphia? Just kind of what's the split squad for that?
yeah, I'll start with the squad because that kind of works into the tech then. So we've basically split it in half, more or less. Half team's still back in Philly playing a really critical role and just being able to help us, all the things that we're streaming, all the footage that we're sending back, all the editing that we're doing, almost all of that stuff's taking place back on site in Philly. And that team is killing it. They'll come out here and join us for the game this weekend. But during the week, that's what they're doing. And then the rest of the team that's out here, it is boots on the ground, constantly shooting. We film a lot of stuff on Ari Amira's in terms of like some of the bigger camera builds that we have. Live View is how we're sending all of our press conferences back. They're a tremendous partner. In terms of like editing and social and things like that. I mean, we're big users of the Adobe Creative Suite. So, that's where all the stuff that we're cutting is coming from. But we're still, we're nimble. We're shooting on our cell phones. Sure. We've got a little FX3 on a gimbal. We're whatever it is, like again, it's how do you get the right stuff in the right place? So,
right.
We've definitely been creative in thinking in terms of how to use some of the tried and true solutions, how to use photos. That's even another aspect of this that photos are a tremendous part of what we do, especially, on Instagram and the galleries that we put together for our website, the articles that our guys are writing, the daily podcast, doing an in-depth look at the team. It's really like, in terms of a collaborative effort, man, it's what a team, right? Like everybody's really pulling their weight, crushing it. I think it's pretty cool when you see all that culminate, and it's fun for us. Like, realistically, I mean, the team on the field that they're the ones who are going to win the game, on Sunday. But like when it comes down to, all the work that goes into it, leading up to it, it's awesome when you see the team coming together like this, collaborating, the creativity flowing, and everybody's just doing a great job. So just so proud, of seeing it all come together. And I mean, for me, that's kind of what is most fulfilling about all this.
Now, as someone in your position, you're throughout the entire NFL season, you're probably consuming thousands of hours of content, whether it's posted, whether you shoot it, whether whatever it is. Do you have a favorite post from the regular season or playoffs, or just from the entire year that you can look at it and be like, yeah, I like that one the best, whether it was done, either executed to a T, or you thought the creative storyline was great. What's your favorite?
Yeah, that's hard to pick. So I don't think I can pick just one, but I can definitely throw a few at you.
Sure.
Our series in Unscripted this year has just been, brilliant in capturing really what's going on. And that features so much access footage, the stuff that we're shooting in the locker room and post games, the team meetings during the week, the moments, happen kind of behind closed doors that nobody sees. And I think it's just such an effective way of really, there's a lot of really awesome things that are happening in our building. And I think it's just such a cool way to showcase that and bring people in, and, they can really see kind of what's going on. So, especially down the back half of the season, the stretch, the last couple episodes have just been amazing. Our series playback, that's another one that just, it's such a cool way to showcase game day, and kind of starts with like arrivals and players getting on site and the build up to the game and then the things that are happening and just showing it in a different way. Those have been really awesome pieces. Our hype videos that I mentioned earlier, we worked with some of our celebrity fans, but just in terms of the edits and the way that they came together, just really awesome pieces of content that were truly a team effort in terms of, pre-production, writing the script, picking the shots, working on the edit. Their labors of love. It's a lot of work, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of changes, a lot of versions, but it's well worth it when you kick out, the one, and it hits the spot. So those have been really cool. On from a social front, just some of the fun stuff that our team has really been creative in coming up with. But whether it's, we've done a couple of day in the lives on TikTok and Insta that have been pretty fun. One with Julie Vacansis, our senior manager of social, and one that was one of our senior feature producers, Blaze Basile. Like those two specifically, really, they performed really well to the point where like, people were like DMing them and stuff. It's just really funny. Like when you people kind of see behind the curtain and see what goes into it, it just personalizes it a little bit more. We had a really cool collab also too early in the season that we did week 6 when we played Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. We worked with NFL Media through a program that they have to do a feature called 24 Hours to Kickoff, and it showcased basically everything that, well, no, I can't say everything because there's so much more, but a lot of the things that kind of go into preparing for a game day. So follow from game pres. And that game, we happened to have Meek Mill leading the team onto the field, and it was just an epic game. It was that aspect. It was the stadium grounds. It was, our equipment staff. It was nutrition. It was like all the elements. And again, I think it's just been such a breakthrough this year of like when we've been able to turn the lens around, not necessarily just on our Eagles entertainment, content team, but just the whole organization, just highlight, there's so much hard work that goes into running a football team. And, I think fans realize that. And when they see, when it's that personal level, of coverage of it, it's kind of like, oh, wow, these are real people, they're doing their jobs, whether or not the team is winning or losing, they're working really hard. It's all the things that have to happen for Sunday to take place. So it's been awesome to really, not only create that content, but then see it be so successful. It's really affirming because, you feel like those people they're our family. They're the people we work with every day to do this stuff. And when you see our fans reacting and excited about it and, shouting them out and stuff, it's just such a cool aspect of it. So it's a little sentimental part of my heart, but why I would pick that. But I think also just really, really well produced content as well. So
right. Yeah. I think from what I've learned from getting to know you and other teams, I think it's cool to see how the organization, each department is linked together, right? And venue can't do without social, or content can't do without, the operations team or the people. It starts with the players. Like you said, it's easier. Your job's easier when the team's doing well, whether that's an in-venue perspective or generating traffic on social and just getting the buzz around the team. So it's kind of cool to see that in Philadelphia, it's the same thing. You mentioned team. Do you want to give shout outs to people by name on your team, or do you want to keep it kind of general? Because it takes a village. I know it's the cliche saying. I'm throwing a lot of cliches at you, but either executives giving you the green light, or the people that you surround yourself with basically every single day.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it truly does take a village, but we're just so fortunate, from top to bottom. I mean, our executive team, my boss, Jen Kavanaugh, our team president, Don Smolensky, our owner, Jeffrey Lurie. It's one of those things that I think, from the top, the mindset in the building, it's definitely one of like, how do we serve our fan base? How do we, take advantage of the opportunities that we have to be creative and do things that are fun and interesting and engaging. And, all credit, really goes to them enabling and empowering us, giving us resources. And then the team itself, man, there's so many, I mean, our entire full-time staff, our seasonal staff, there's so many just fantastic people that are really at the top of their crafts on our team, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I could literally, I would name every single person on me. I think it would be like 28 people. So that would probably take a while, but like, they're all phenomenal. They all own their roles. They're all tremendous. the communication, the ability to work together. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is just kind of seeing how, our production team works hand in hand with our social team in terms of like, because our social team's creating a lot of content themselves every day, whether it's stuff they're capturing on their phone, whether it's the fun trends that they're capitalizing on, whether it's the copy they're writing, but then the production team that's creating the longer form content and doing it with the strategy in mind, right? Like really
Right.
thinking about like, okay, if if we see a huge opportunity to grow on YouTube, what things are we doing that we feel like are going to most help us towards that goal? Everybody's just done such a good job of coming together on that stuff. And I mean, last week we just passed the Cowboys. We have the largest audience on YouTube in the NFL, and that was something we definitely had our sights on. As we were starting the season, not necessarily because it was even the Cowboys. I mean, yeah, it's fun because they're a rival too, but
Yeah.
just in terms of like taking pride in the work that we do and knowing that YouTube was an important part of our strategy. So really focusing on how do we grow there, and it's been a true combination of taking advantage of YouTube Shorts, which is and short form content, and then building really solid long form serial content. And they're dramatically different types of content, that you've got different people working on. But man, you got to do it all right and do it well so that you're capturing people who, basically are consuming both types of content, fish where the fish are.
Right.
So that's just been such a huge part of what we do. And it just, I think, again, the staff, just everybody being willing to contribute, own their roles, jump in. It's, for me, my absolute favorite part of the job, bar none, is the team. I love the people I work with. I love that we get to do this stuff every day. It's truly a privilege. I'm so grateful for it. It's awesome when we win on the field too. I mean, that just kind of makes it even more fun because we get to do this, right? Like how
Right.
awesome is it to be here? We're so fortunate. But the reality is like if we didn't enjoy working together and if we have a team that was built that way, even when you have moments like this, they're not as fulfilling, right? Because it's kind of, at that point, you're not enjoying it and appreciating it because of the people you're there doing it with.
Right.
So, I'm the luckiest guy in that way. Just and I know a lot of my counterparts, other teams, feel the same way, and they really focus on the teams that they build and the people that are, doing the work every day. And that's no different here. It's such a critical part of what we do and who we are.
Right. Reaching goals is one thing, but doing it with the people that you really enjoy being around makes it a lot more sweeter. Before I let you go, Eric,
Absolutely.
one question I want to ask you, just based on knowing your lineage with the Eagles and the people you work with, the person I spoke with the Chiefs, obviously we all know who it is. We said Rob Alberino. You have a unique tie to him, so I want you to tell that story if you can. And two, just
Yeah.
the typical SVG question is: how excited are you to be? It's you're obviously excited, but what do you think this game will mean to you? Two rings in as many, what, 5 seasons? Two rings in 5 seasons? That would be pretty damn cool, right? So just talk to
It
me
would
about how
be. I
excited
can't. I
you are.
can't count
Yeah,
that one before it happens. But if we're lucky enough, that would be pretty freaking cool. Even just to be back here a second time is pretty
yeah,
awesome. But no, in terms of Rob, man, it's too funny. It's one of those small world things. And I mean, you've worked in this world for a while, and you know how you know
very
everybody's
intertwined.
connected to everybody, right? Oh,
Yeah,
it's which is one of my favorite parts about it. Truly, like it's the other night walking onto the show floor opening night. First person I see as I come out onto the show floor. There's Tim Beach, who's with the
yep,
Cardinals,
Cardinals.
he's walking by, and then I see Brian Harper with the Vikings, and I'm
Yep,
running into Blake Jones, Charlotte Carey with the NFL, and Bob Becker with Van Wagner. It's like all these people, and it's
yeah,
this like universe of people that I love being around and that I talk to all the time, and it's
right.
just really cool. But digressing a little bit there. Rob, yeah. So in 2009, Rob hired me with the Eagles in a part-time capacity first. I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
So I came on board that season, worked the year, and it was December 23rd, I believe. Rob pulled me and the rest of the team into his office, and he said, "Hey guys, we were having a really good season, getting ready to go in the playoffs." And he's like, as we go in the playoffs, everybody's just really uptight, and they're asking us to cut costs and really think about like, how we're spending money, and just going to have to make some really tough decisions. And at that point, I was
Oh
working
God.
hourly, it was
You
that
thought you were
freelance prove it
fired or
basis.
something, right?
I was like, oh, where's this going, right? And he's like, yeah, I just want everybody to to be on the same page. So but that's all, and everybody, you guys go on with your day, and so we're all walking out, and he's like, Eric, you stay behind. I'm like, oh no.
Principal's office. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? And he just gives me a big hug. And anybody knows Rob. I mean, he's the most charismatic guy you can know. And just he's a hugger, right? So he
Mhm.
just gives me this big hug. He's like, hey man, welcome aboard, you're full time, and like
That's great.
he'd set the whole thing up just to get me going a little bit, and then the guys all came back in, and it was really cool. So yeah, hired me December 23rd, and then I think we were one and done in the playoffs that year. And I believe the week after we lost, Rob pulled us all back together again, and similar situation. And then that time around, though, it was like, well, I'm heading out to Kansas City. I just took a job out there. And at first I was like, all right, he's going to be like, oh, I'm just messing with
Kidding.
you.
Yeah.
No, that was for real that time. So, you know, I got a couple months to really see him at work and learn a lot, and at that point, I think I was an associate producer. I was, the young guy on the staff, the one
Right.
he was kind of, still cutting my teeth. I think I'd worked a couple places before that, but, still 5, 6 years into my career. And, but, throughout the rest of my career, I mean, again, this world is awesome in the people that you can reach out to everywhere. And I mean, Rob's just continued to be a great influence, somebody that I could always lean on for advice or help, or, how are you doing this, or all that kind of stuff. And even this week, he was in a pickle with something as we were coming out here, and I was able to hook him up. And then, opening night, I'm calling him up and saying, "Hey, our microphone broke. Do you have one we can borrow?" And he's like, "No problem. I got you."
Right.
So, and actually one of our guys that was on Rob hired for the Eagles back when I was, before I was even hired, Joe Helder, left us in April to take a job with the Chiefs as I forget his title, but he's a director, I think, of production for the international marketing. And so Joe's on Rob's staff. And, it's always one of those things where if you leave a team that goes to Super Bowl, there's a bit of like, like,
Sure. Yeah.
and of course, Joe left one team that's going to the Super Bowl to go to the other team that's going to the Super Bowl. So, we saw him too the other night, and it was just fun to, give each other hugs, wish each other well. And, if it doesn't work out where we're the ones with the confetti at the end, I'm going to be so happy for Rob, because it's one of those things. He deserves it. He's worked hard in his career, and I'll be excited for him, as sad as I will be for us. That will be a silver lining, but
Right.
hopefully that's not the case.
That's fingers crossed. It's like, instead of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's the 6 degrees of Rob Alberino. It feels like everyone's connected to him somehow. The butterfly effect. Eric, thank you, man. I know you got to run and do more of your duties and responsibilities in your position. So first of all, thank you for always supporting us at SVG. It doesn't go unnoticed. 2, thank you for sitting down. And 3, good luck. I hope to see you out there. And if not, best of luck on Sunday. One half of me is rooting for you because of my connection to my wife, but the other one isn't. But you're a great guy, so you still have my support.
Arguably, your better half is rooting for me, so
Sure,
that's
man.
all. I'll take that. No, it's always a pleasure to catch up, and hopefully we get to see each other in person out here. But keep up the good work and love what you guys do for the industry. So appreciate you.